Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just this gown? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Spending time all alone, sending my songs to the phone, dreaming of a better home, while focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the brujas let this last. I don't know.
That was great sounds of Watson with Outside on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, with my partner in crime, Long Island raised, Elm City made, EZ BlueZ is in the building. EZ BlueZ, you're better with introductions more than me. Who do we have with us today on Behind the Brand?
Ladies and gentlemen, we sit in a time where belief is extremely important. Some people believe they can fly. Some people believe the earth is flat. Some people believe that their point of view is the only point of view that exists. But to quote the patron saint of melody, Miss Whitney Houston, I believe the children are the future. If you teach them well, you'll let them lead the way. And today, someone taught this young man very well. And at a young age, he decided to throw his hat in the political ring and make a change. When the rest of the world was saying the youth doesn't matter, he said, I have a voice and a point of view, and it is important. So for that amazingness, I want you to put your hands together. Not if you're driving. If you're driving, please keep your hands at 10 and 2. We don't need any accidents. But put your hands together mentally for the incredible councilman, Abdul Osmanu. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Oh my God, I love the little Whitney Houston Houston part of the intro. I'm really rocking with that.
I'm different, but no, it's like, to me, it's one of the most important parts of your story right now. Also because you've only written your story up to age 21, right? But it is an important part because in someone who is not 21, when I was 21, I literally believed the lie that my voice didn't really matter. That no matter how hard I tried to fight, I was not going to have my voice heard. I was going to be ignored. The older generation knows better. This is what's going through. But you had the courage to put yourself out there. And to put yourself out there, if we're being honest, in a world that doesn't want to really hear from the youth, because they're automatically gonna be like, oh yeah, this is the guy that's part of that generation that ate those Tide Pods. You know what I mean? You're gonna listen to the Tide Pod guy. You know what I mean? So, and again, other generations have also done really silly things. There used to be lawn dart. Let's be real. Those without sin cast the first stone. What inspired you to take that step and that leap to do this?
So I think things really, like, I'd always had some minimal interest in politics growing up. Just something we talked about, around the dinner table as family. But I think that it really took, and I think for most people, really, it takes some sort of nudge or push, whether from the outside world or just an individual, that kind of gives you that opportunity to get involved. And I think it was a combination of both, where I kind of got a little bit more involved in my community and wanting to get involved in town politics following like the election of Trump. That was like minimal nudge. I wouldn't attribute like most of it to that, but there was an element of that at play. But then also really, I was taking AP Gov at the time, and we had some folks that were looking to run for town council that came in and really talked to us. Relatively young, and it was kind of my first experience really seeing that it is possible for folks to be my age and to come into politics, make power, build power in their communities and make sure their voices are really heard in a meaningful way. So that was really inspirational to me. From being that guy that kind of just like showed up to like practically every time we were like knocking doors, having the opportunity to talk to people and whatnot. I kind of just stuck around. Which is really funny because in campaign volunteer world, like your volunteers usually like drop off over time. It was kind of just like a battle of attrition, where like I was just like more or less the last man standing oftentimes. So they just give me extra tasks, where like I went from knocking doors to having, other different tasks on campaigns that I worked on. And that's kind of just like my political story where I just stuck around, had the ability to really learn a lot about my community, the institutions that I interacted with, uh, gained a lot more, not just knowledge, but really love for the community that I live in. And at one point or another, it kind of really occurred to me that I done so much within the political realm, that it felt the next natural step really was just to run for office. Not only because I thought I could, affect change for my community, but kind of really change narratives on what local politics looks like, whether it's who's at the table or, what are the issues that we're generally pushing.
And like in particular, obviously going over your campaign and different things like that, there are certain platform pieces that you stuck to. Was there? I think a lot of the listener at home doesn't truly understand that it is kind of like a chess game. There are you have to look at it almost like you look at planning goals in life. You have your long-term goal, you have your midterm goal, you have your short-term goal. And I'm sure you're like, okay, I want to make all of this stuff change and go through, but you don't realize the limitation of the power you have until you're actually in the position. But even as per running, were there certain things that you had to compromise on a belief aspect to ensure it was what's best for the entire community instead of just say, a personal growth or a certain age demographic?
So I think that one of the things that was a part of my campaign, and it's just as how I've decided to operate in office and as I grow up, is kind of taking time to listen to folks, get an understanding what matters to them most, and make sure that it's not just me being the singular voice, and commanding what I believe on other people, but like at the same time, I don't think that led to any real compromising of my message. Where like I think whether on the campaign or how I am right now, I just believe in pure authenticity. Where if I'm at your door and talking to you and I'm being my least authentic self, like you 9 times out of 10 can actually see that. And that's just not really how I like to operate as a person. I'd, just ideally like to be my most authentic self. I'd like everyone to be their most authentic self because I think that's how we usually get to real solutions in the society. So yeah, I don't really think that impacted me as I was running, even in office, where like because of that time that I spent around just town politics, I kind of knew how things operated. So yeah, in that aspect, I do move around with realism, but like I also like to ground myself in the belief that if you can't imagine a better tomorrow, like probably aren't going to have a better tomorrow.
Wow. So you're saying it's okay just to be a real person?
Yeah, I just like
That's amazing.
really rare in politics, my guy. Like
it's rare. It's rare in the entertainment industry too. Trust me. I've met so many personas and only a couple of people in my life. Trust on that. But no, that's the story that really is the most incredible thing. Is you are going and you are meeting the person at that moment. You are sitting and having the conversation. And some conversations can be uncomfortable. Some conversations are supposed to be uncomfortable. How do you manage the bandwidth? Because I mean, you're 21, this is what you're doing, but you still got, your friend circles, you still got, having to work, you still have all of these other things that go through there. How are you managing that bandwidth? And how are you taking care of your mental health journey and yourself while giving yourself so freely to your community?
So it's a balance. Like I think I'm more honest about it nowadays. It's a balance that I'm still like working out where it's like cool, like I'm still in school. In fact, I'm actually in a study room right now. I got work. I just have like priorities in my life. As a 21-year-old, like continue to just get more weighty. But it really is just about finding those people to just build kinship with outside of politics. Like, for example, like there are just tons of people that I've found, post being an elected official that have just been of great help to me in becoming the person that like I want to become. Because I'm 21, and who I am now is definitely not who I want to be 4 years from now. In addition to just like being honest and open with yourself, for I think after like the primary season, I didn't actually talk to people about this. I actually started going to therapy because I was just like, cool, like we have all these things that we're just like throwing at myself, like I'm having, like I'm just willingly I'm throwing myself at all these things willingly. Like need to like you need to just admit that like you might need a little bit of like help in learning how to regulate all of that. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely would see the need for therapy aspect of it, and congratulations on having the courage to see that and to move forward in that aspect. I can only imagine what it'd be like to navigate like finals week while also having to get the budget in. And I have a 10-page paper, but I also have to have this presentation for the board of education meeting. That would blow me away. I don't know how you do that, so I'm going to high five you again, because that is definitely how do you navigate? Like, are you like, hey guys, I know we have this town the town meeting and stuff, but like I have to be done because I have a paper deadline at midnight. Like, we can't, if anyone's gonna filibuster in this meeting, I'm gonna lose my mind. Because like I have to hit send. I got like 2 more pages and then I can hit send. How do you manage that?
I think part of it is communication, and learning to work around things. Like for example, last year there was a horrible fire in my district. Around like 60 or so folks got displaced from it. When I heard about the fire, like as it was happening, I think I was either having dinner and getting ready to do my homework. Pretty much jumped up from dinner, was like, cool, there's a fire like 2 or 3 blocks from my house, like I should be there. Was there, and realized that I didn't hand in an assignment. But it was just about kind of going to my professor after the fact and saying like, cool, like, and especially it was a class like revolving around my major, which is political science. It was like, cool, like I've already talked about this before, like I'm an elected official. I have other capacities and priorities in my life, like, and this was something that was, severely important and is part of, what makes me outside of the classroom. So like, I apologize for handing in this in late, but could I get like a day extension on it? And yeah, it worked perfectly fine with them. And I think that's kind of the sort of communication, whether it pertains to council work or classwork or anything of that sort. It's just being, like I said, kind of open, honest, communicating, and being yourself.
See, and if no one takes anything else out of this this interview, I hope they take that and they write that note down. And it's an incredible philosophy to live by. Just be genuinely yourself. Genuinely, and be like, okay, this is what's going to come through, and this is what has happened. I understand if you can't give me the day extension, I'm going to take the letter grade loss. I feel it was an important reason to take that letter grade loss, so I'm going to go forth with that. And just, we're so worried about repercussions. We're so worried about, oh, that means my entire life is going to be ruined. And we hype it up so that the anxiety completely cripples us and takes us over. But we have so much more power when we're just genuine and be like, yeah, I actually am not a superhero. And I could not be in 2 places at one time. I tried. I walked by 9 different spiders. No one bit me. And I have now no idea on how I'm going to be able to pull this off. So thank you again for being so open and so honest with us about that journey, because it's super, super important. So as you're moving and shaking, you go through the campaign and now you're elected. Like, is there like some 1980s like hazing going on for like the rookies? Do they like, oh, the council meeting's on the roof next to the pool? Anything like that? Or is there any like cool stories?
No,
Cool
not
stories on
really.
WNHHLP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made EZ BlueZ is in the building. Abdul, my apologies. Station
No,
protocol.
not at all.
Didn't mean to ruin any train of thought. If I did,
Nah.
go right ahead, sir.
No, I'm honestly, there are like some like little jokey like elements of hazing that I wish existed, but don't really.
Right.
Because like for example, like most of our council meetings started off remotely. They soon got back to hybrid, but it's kind of like that personal like dynamic is kind of still building itself. But not really. I'm think of course this is like my freshman term. But in many aspects, like a lot of these folks have seen, heard, or known of me for several years. So it doesn't really feel like I'm a fresh new face because they've already like known me, just not in this capacity. So yeah.
See, I was hoping like you show up the first day, like open up the box of donuts. You're like, oh, only plain donuts. I get it. You're razzing me, guys. And they're like, nah, man, we just got donuts. It was just donuts. This is what we do every Monday.
No, on the contrary, like most of them are sweethearts. Yeah.
That's awesome. So took a weird turn. I love it. As you're moving forward and Hamden has definitely grown a lot in the past couple of election cycles. You guys have really started to branch forward and move more towards a progressive angle. And this isn't an interview as per be this side, be that side, or whatever. This is more that aspect of how has it been being able to reach across the aisle to try to make actual change happen?
So I think that that's something that okay, and like that's a really political thing, but like at the same time, I'm of the belief that like cool, it's just like a weird sort of partisanship where my efforts more so live with the communities that I belong to, where like I'll articulate it to all parties and all sides. But like my ultimate goal is to get my community involved and make their voices heard in whatever I'm trying to do or get done. Because I think that's where the real power lies. Or like, yeah, there's room for collaboration and having to like articulate what I mean to the other side. But that wouldn't take as much importance to me as the importance of making sure my community knows what I'm doing and is has an opportunity to be a part of that. And that just really doesn't really matter what party you belong to. I have constituents that don't even really vote. Don't really care. It's like I still represent you, and I want you to have your voice heard, however manner you feel best.
No, and that honestly is really the structure that we should be moving forward towards, where the people actually have their voice. That's what the system was actually supposedly, as per what they've told us and failed to tell us in many classes for many years. That is the Scooby-Doo ending story that they tell you as per what the system was created for, is to be the voice of the people. Obviously, you do some history, you do some looking into things, and there's certain people, maybe a person, just this person in particular. But
we ebb and flow
in the Scooby-Doo. Yeah, we ebb and flow. So we're talking the Scooby-Doo terms. That's it is what it should be, is as per the voice of the people. You can't, when you well, that's not really what's going on. That's not what the community wants, and the community shows up and says, "Hey, no, that's exactly what we want." And if we could get that, that'd be great. I think that's one of the key points, and the more people that are tapped and that are energized and that are able to move forward, we'll start to see the change that's going to be benefiting everybody. Because everybody is now engaged in the conversation. It's not just a select few of people that are having conversations with themselves and kind of letting out, what they feel we need to hear. So thank you for really bringing that power back to the people themselves. Even say the people that disagree with you sometimes, they are still part of your constituency, and you still value that they have an opinion and that, they should be heard. That's huge. That's huge. Very divisive times, and especially in the entertainment or the political field, it's so easy to use anger and, to motivate, and you're really coming at it from a healing point of view.
Yeah.
And that I want to commend you for.
Like I have constituents that like I'll disagree with stuff on, but
Hmm.
we like that doesn't mean that we're going to disagree on everything, and there's going to be room to like ally up and like work
Hmm.
on something like that we both agree on and think is pretty cool. So why would I be so vindictive about the one thing we do disagree with?
Right. Well, it's just so interesting because that seems to be the narrative that we are constantly being fed. Is, that there's this whole cut through throat ability on such single pointed issues, that we lose the point of the whole conversation. They're obviously, no matter what, no two human beings are going to agree on every single thing. Period. You have your own perspective and your own point of view, and you also have to look at how this benefits me and my community, or how this benefits me and my household, and how it doesn't. And there's so many people that so many issues fall out of their scope of hitting them on a personal level, that bringing out the community and showing that, hey, there are some of these people that are represented in this community. They are your neighbors. You have lived side by side with them forever. You love them because they always bring up their garbage cans all the time, and their lawn always looks great, and you never have to worry about anything looking off or being wrong. But you didn't know them. And when we can meet in our differences and actually put a human face to it, and you get to see the heart of it, it is a lot easier to understand that we can come together. And it's just a tough time. And how are you managing to get through it? Like, and not only get through it, but you're in the fire, bro. Like, you're in the fire.
So I think that it's actually really funny. I made the lucky choice in running for council, where I don't feel it's been that bad.
Hmm.
Where when I look at the Board of Ed side, it's a little like testy. So I guess at least for this term, I've been spared. Uh,
Hmm.
but I think that's just something that it's a national trend that folks
Hmm.
are like, I don't know, we're going to either live in harmony, which I prefer, or we're not. And
Hmm.
if we are to, folks really need to come to a mutual, like a peaceful disagreement with other folks. Or like my whole entire motto and mantra is like, so far as it does not like demean the humanity of another person, like I'm cool to disagree with you on this.
Hmm. Exactly. And that's the thing. Human person, we get so lost up in the stories, and it could be any type of story. I'm not going to take it in one way or the other, but the Florida man stories, for example, there's
Yeah.
always something bad when you see, the headlines always says Florida man does this and Florida man does that. It's still kind of rooted in that aspect, and then it becomes part of the narrative.
Yeah.
The highest extreme always becomes the normal talking point, and that's where we start to lose that humanity. And I really do appreciate that you are out there and grinding and bringing a human face back to it, because that is how we're going to survive. That is how we're going to get through. um Now, are you also like, it's weird to say because you're 21, man, but you reaching lower too, like, so some of the high school kids and different things like that, and being that mentor as well, or do you have enough on your plate right now? Because, bro, you got a lot on your plate. I'm just, you
Yeah.
know not trying to give you
So
more.
so like honestly, that is something that I've well, it was a little difficult to, and it's kind of lightening up a bit to get into the high schools during like, because
Mhm.
just the fallout of COVID, as well
Mhm.
as just like security concerns. But there's been instances where I've been able to go into the high school and
Mhm.
talk to students. And there was one time where I was able to reach out and have people that were interested on working on campaigns kind of just
Mhm.
give me their information so I could get back to them. So that's something that I lightly, minorly doing, but like with having more time on my hands, which I don't really have control of. I'd love to do that because I think, okay, so in being elected at 19, I was like the youngest person in town history to be elected to the legislative council. Like, it would be my dream to get someone even younger than me, because that means that there was actual, like, that's like, I think that is a better legacy for me to sleep on, than I was the youngest person, giving that knowledge and wisdom that I have and passing it on to someone. Because that's honestly what was like, I feel like that's part of why I was here. There were folks that I met along my journey and along my way, that didn't necessarily look at the fact that I was so young, but just saw that appetite and ambition to be involved. So they served as really great mentors, and many of them still are. And I think that's what, in a modern sense, politics should be really all about, where there are tons of folks that are super old. With all due respect to them, they've, worked hard and put their whole entire life into this work. But I don't think there's been such a good effort at building new leadership, and putting people on in a manner that really refreshes and revives, like, our democracy. That sounds really corny. But like, I think with a youth perspective, like, I just think that you when you have more youth involved, there's just a wider array and variety of ideas that are really brought to the table, and brought to the forefront. And you have the ability to, address so many, especially in this day and age where just young kids, especially, oh my God, if you talk to high schoolers now, they're just 10 times more ahead of the curve than I was in terms of just understanding certain things about the world. And that's something that's missing from our political conversations, because we don't really invite them into that much.
Yeah, no, it's super interesting. Now we're getting into the wonderful legal aspects here, right? So I don't think you can run until you're 18, right?
Yep.
Which makes sense, because at the age of 18 you can sign legal documents, yada 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 yada.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes sense. But that, like, you think your legacy is to find someone younger than you and to make that. Bro, you gave yourself a small window. You only got a year to play with, bro. Like, it's not like you came in at like 23 and like, okay, I can put a 20-year-old on and it'll be fine. You got to like snatch and quit. Wow, man, that's, again, high goal, high five on that.
Absolutely.
That's a lofty goal, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's very interesting that we do not, invite the youth more into that conversation, especially when we have seen the trends for it for a long time. I remember, in like when President Clinton got onto MTV, or he played Arsenio Hall, he played the saxophone, and he appealed to the younger demographic, and it started to galvanize. And every time you see the youth out there and voting, and the voting numbers are higher, you start to see the trend of where they see the future should be. And if you look at it platform for platform note, it's kind of like where it should be. And also they're the ones that are going to end up with it. So maybe we give them a say before, they're 35, maybe just
like, even at that, it's just like, I can't, it's been difficult for me to rationalize it, where, like, I'm 21. I've been more or less in just the political scene of things and active since like I was 14 or 15. Just the idea of sticking around and holding on to power until I'm 60 sounds just insane. Like, that's like, if you've been around that long and have just struggled to find someone that is an ideal successor, or folks that are you haven't activated anybody, like, it just is really tough, because you could do all the great things in the world, but to pass it on to the next generation is the most, like, honorable thing that you can do. That kind of cements your legacy, in my opinion.
So what you're saying is this is the way.
Yeah, I think, like, building leadership, and really not being afraid to put people on and share your power. Where I think a lot of folks oftentimes are afraid of sharing their power, which, like, I don't really see anything bad in that, but that's just me, I guess.
See, I knew it. All of our politics is based off of Mandalorian. I knew it. Now I'm just going to go to John Favreau and find out the end of this season, and I'll know what's going to happen, because, I got you to say this is the way. So it works out well.
It's very great to have that at a young age, though, that mindset. Not too many people in his generation do, especially back then, because I'm a millennial and not too many people were in politics back then. It was just all about just selfish endeavors when we were 21. So it's great just to see an evolved youth like yourself just going into perspective. But you did talk about a 4-year plan. Do you see yourself in politics in 4 years or within that realm or in like an evolved state, or you see yourself like doing other stuff like in business or any other endeavors?
So I think that it's really weird because I get this question a lot.
Yeah.
I'm just playing it like year by term by term, year by year. I think
Okay.
that I've managed campaigns. I've like just served at like I've just been at not every, but like several like
Mhm.
levels of politics, whether it be local or just like regionally around
Mhm.
like my just area. Which I think that's afforded me the ability where I could jump into different areas of political work. Like I don't necessarily feel wedded to being an elected
Mhm.
official forever,
Mhm.
because I know that there are other meaningful ways to make change in my community and just
Sure.
around just where I inhabit. Uh, and my motto has always just been so far as I am like making enough to put a roof over my head, and I
Sure.
go to sleep knowing that I did something good, and I helped folks. That is like that's the perfect life for me, and I will be the most happiest man on earth.
Nothing wrong
Awesome.
with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. To those who are unaware and don't know, what is the Jam Slate and who is in it?
So the jam slate was actually really fun. Um, so it was pretty much like me, Justin Farmer, one of my colleagues on council, and Miriam Khan, who's on the board of ed. All met each other through just like Justin was running for council when me and Miriam volunteered on some of the campaigns that were happening around that time. Just
Mhm.
built a really close affinity with one another. Um, and me and Miriam both decided that we were going to run for office, her for board of ed, me for council, and Justin kind of being like, yeah, he's a colleague, but it's really like he's a big brother of sorts, honestly.
Nice.
Just building that close knit like collective, uh, where we were all pretty like minded, and decided to just impart a just youthful, energetic vision of what local politics could really be. And the name Jam, stands for Justin Abdul Miriam. Was actually Miriam's idea.
Oh.
Yep, I'm like it was the funniest thing during the cycle. We had folks that would like come up and they'd be like, "Jam, where'd you get Jam from?" It's like, nope, we were literally on a Zoom, thinking about a catchy name, and Miriam just shouts out Jam, and we're like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "No, Jam, Justin Abdul Miriam," and it's like, boom, there it is. Like, really great branding though.
It is
No, it's
great branding.
phenomenal. Phenomenal branding. Actually, I was hoping it had something to do with the jam that happens every so often, where all the phenomenal R&B and gospel musicians get together at a certain venue and location, and they just play for hours. It's amazing. Just saying, it's good co-branding. I'm saying, you talk to
I'm just
them,
like,
everyone hang through. There's some powerful people in that room.
that
Like
sounds
I've
like a
been.
potent collab. Like,
It is definitely a potent collab. Now, and also, we talk about your 4-year plan and everything like that. I'm a big fan of getting scoops on this show. So we're trying to really ask you here is, in 14 years, are you running for president? I'm just being real.
no, I
Before
actually
you answer that, on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven, myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City Made, EZ BlueZ is in the building. Will Abdul be the next president of the United States? Let us know.
no. I've had that conversation.
He's like, hell no.
I've had that conversation so many times. I think last time that happened, like my grandma was asking me.
Right.
Where it's just like, nope, like I do not have any aspirations ever, 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 ever to be president of the United States.
Right.
I don't even think I'd have aspirations to at this point ever just serve on any federal level. I am happy with being in my little home, my little state, my little community, and impacting and imparting change that way. Because that just feels most, organic to me. Then also, like, when I'm in my 30s, I'd ideally like to, be settled down with just like a family of my own, and like all of that sort of stuff just makes that more difficult if I'm just like really DC based. Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that at all. Abdul, what does local politics mean to you, and how do you inspire other young individuals like yourself to get more active into it? They don't necessarily have to have a position like you, but there's a lot of ways you can contribute to your community within local politics.
I think what local politics really means to me is having the ability to empower others, because I think people look at like the national scene and feel so powerless. Just like looking at all these things that they oftentimes really don't have power over. They have a voice, but not really any real meaningful power. And when you really get down to the local level, there is that tangible power that, like you said, doesn't even have to be exercised in being an elected official. So I think that like local politics should definitely be something that is just inspiring and gives hope to like just people, whether really young or old, that so far as you have a voice, heck, even if you don't have a voice, for folks that don't have that ability, you have the ability to really impact your community and make really meaningful change that, not only makes you feel good, but really has the ability to change, people's lives for the better.
So true. Definitely true. Easy. Can you agree?
Oh no, it's definitely the right way to go about things, and I love the fact that you want to stay in the local aspect of it. So many people, when things don't go their way on the federal level, and no matter what side of the aisle they sit on, there you'll have a point in time where things aren't going to go your way. For some people, it's a lot more dangerous and deadly than others, but that, I digress so that we don't get a whole bunch of hate mail. And all hate mail, please address to Preston, because I don't care. Like, it's just they don't like me. Cool. I don't like me sometimes either. This is the way it goes. But as you continue to move forward, and you look for that unification, everyone looks at the federal level and this person is going to change all of that, when it's really that local level in which things need to change, and in which it's that change that can move forward. And you would hope, very similar to like a business, or very similar to like a music entertainment aspect of it, you build in the community you grow up in, and it's a ripple effect. You hope to drop that pebble in there, and you hope the ripples go out to far enough in which you're getting the change you need, whether it be in your personal life, in your career, or in the government, aspect on how things should move forward. All you can really focus on is what is the individual. Are you going out there and playing your best game? Are you going out there and being your best self? And like you say, every night, you go to sleep and say, did I, push for a positive change today? I give myself a pass fail every night as well. Did I make life a little bit better? See, I'm rough on myself. I pass fail. There is no in between. There's no gray area for me.
In between, man. You gotta have like okay, like
I'm working on it. I fail a lot. I told you I fail. I'm not, I'm not a good person. I just, it's rough.
I'm a big baseball fan. Like, baseball is a game of failure. You're getting to hit 30% of the time. You're beautiful, absolutely amazing.
That's a much better way to look at it. And baseball, I fall asleep while watching. Cool. I'm like, why did you drop the bat? You'll never get out. If you run the bases with the bat, you'll win. That's me. That's my flaws. And I see myself there. But this isn't about me. This is about you, man. As you are moving forward, and as you are doing that evolution, where do you see yourself? Like, what is a councilman's major in college? We haven't even gotten there. Like, is it something like cool, like art history? Oh, please tell me you're
Nah,
an art history
sadly
major.
not. I wish I was an art history major. I'd probably know like a lot more Latin and Roman. But no, I'm a political science major. And yeah, it's been an interesting experience. But yeah, kind of working backwards because I'm already
Yeah.
yeah.
You're like, I bought the car and then I got driving lessons. That's kind of, I went for the license after I'd already bought the car. And I've been driving it ever since I bought it, but it is what it is. But it's very interesting because you now have that ability to see, the texts on like how people did move forward and the different things like that, and the proper strategies and what you've actually done and what you actually see as successful.
Yeah.
Is there a direct correlation, or is that just kind of like the blueprint they give everybody else and that's not how the game's actually played?
So I think it's the blueprint that works in certain cases, but it's just like the world is so big. There's just so many pockets and just everywhere, just different cultures of whatever. Where like the world is just so nuanced that it's difficult for a textbook to like cover
Mhm.
that. And that is something I've had to grow okay with because I remember I was one of those kids in my first 2 years of college where I was like, no, this textbook's dumb and stupid. They didn't talk about this, that, and that. Where I'm like, cool, like this is like only 500 pages. Like there's only so much that you could really cover about the world in 500
Mhm.
pages. So I think so far as like people in the field admit that, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, not any problem with that at all. But yeah,
And there is a lot of truth to holding on to that, to the blueprints, and seeing again, at least if not how the game is played, how the board is set up,
yeah,
seeing those different type of aspects, because that's one, and that's why I always go back to games, because it's all strategies and different things like that. And chess is something that's phenomenal, and I have played chess with some incredible chess players that know every single aspect of it. And I have seen those incredible chess players play a child that has no idea about the rules, only knows how the pieces can move, has no strategy in mind. And though it frustrates the heck out of that really good chess player because they have no idea how to build a strategy off of chaos.
sounds
Um,
like me.
you know, that's what I'm saying. And,
I
and,
was
and
like, I don't know how to play
that's a
chess, but
beautiful.
I know how to. Yeah,
Yeah. But there's a lot to that, because that's where you can really get in there and shake things up, because you aren't burdened with what they told you can't be. Make sense?
Mm.
yeah. No, I think even like applying to that to just
Mm-hmm.
like I don't want to ever lose. Well, of course, I'm going to get older, but I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to lose the youthful exuberance and just curiosity, and the just passion and drive to go beyond what is already known or has been
Mm-hmm.
tested or done before.
Right.
Because then at that point, like I don't know, it just like doesn't feel fun anymore. If you're just trying to meet the bare minimum status quo standard.
Yeah.
It's dead on. It's we get so caught up in status quo is the only way, can't rock the boat, everything, just everything's okay for now, we just need to make sure that everything's going to be okay for now,
Mhm.
when it's really about rocking the boat and making it okay forever, or making it maintainable forever.
Mhm.
That's really the key aspect. And everyone is so scared of losing what they have already really lost. They just haven't really come to terms with it yet. It
Yeah.
hasn't hit home for them yet. They
Mhm.
don't necessarily have the skin in the game, but I always go back to that one Holocaust poem, and when they came for me, no one said anything because there was no one left.
Yeah.
And we need to start being there for everyone else, because if not, going to be very boring and not going to go very well for everybody. I've seen this movie. It's bad.
Oh
Yeah.
Lord. One thing that's not boring is this interview. And Abdul, thanks for being part of this process with us and dealing with my insane self and especially Evie's insane self. But
I'm just like, if you don't have a sprinkle of insanity on you, you're probably more insane than the rest of us.
I'm stealing that quote, by the way. I really
Going on a shirt.
But we have only just a couple minutes left, and we'd like to give it to our guests for every program. These last couple minutes, please give any perspective advice to anyone who wants to be in a similar path as yours. Anything that you will be involved with in the foreseeable future. And please give any type of social media for anybody who wants to get in contact with you. So this time is yours, Abdul.
All right. I could only remember my Instagram off the top of my head.
Right.
That is Osmanu CT. If you're able to find me on there, you'll probably be able to find me everywhere else. Because I think, oh yeah, my Twitter handle is ABDUL Abdul YO 13. And I think one of the messages that I'd really want to impart on people that want to get involved in, I don't know, I guess be like me, is you don't have to. Probably shouldn't. Because there's just so many ways to like actually get to where I am right now, where if you're just having fun with how you're involved and going about this work, you're just going to 9 times out of 10 find yourself in a spot where you're doing good work, you're enjoying it, and you're seeing the fruit of your work. So like you don't have to run for office when you're 18 or 19. You don't have to have spent your whole entire teenage years doing political stuff. Like you'll find your way to this work in the way that best comforts you, in the way that best inspires you. And if it's not inspiring you, don't be afraid to switch up how you're doing things. I'm definitely the kind of person that has always struggled with doing things that I am not inspired by. So I'd never ask anyone to do anything that they're not inspired by. And yeah, just keep that youthful energy and exuberance that brought you into things. Where like I try to, like I kind of said it a lot, I try to really be myself. Where it's like, cool days I'll show up to my council meeting, suit and tie. Other days I'll dress down a little bit, or like wear some like nice, fun cultural attire. Something I haven't necessarily seen on the council level, but that is a part of me. That is a part of who I am. I do not want what I don't know what I become in the future to change who I am. So yeah, I think that's really like more of the just some of the most important things for anybody that's really looking to get involved. What I'm up to, graduating. Yes.
Congratulations.
I'm graduating this spring.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Election season coming up. By election rules, I cannot say stuff. Yeah, there's certain things I cannot say. Currently working on a campaign, serving on a campaign as a field director in New Haven for Liam Brennan, who's running for mayor. So that is exciting to kind of be working on the other side of the border, as I once did live in New Haven. And I believe making our regions stronger rather than our individual towns is something that's really important to me. And yeah, like if you do just have me on any of those social media platforms, feel free to reach out. I'm increasingly becoming an open book as I get older.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, Abdul, thanks for being a part of the program. Really do appreciate you. Hope to have you on again sometime. And we love to see your growth, man, at this young of age. So we appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me on. It's been one of the more fun interviews I've ever done.
That's what we shoot for. That's what we shoot for.
We try. That is accomplished. Thank you so much.
It's a ride. It's a ride. It's a journey.
A ride that was not going to end anytime soon on WNHH LP 103.5 FM New Haven. Myself, Prestige, and my partner in crime, Long Island Rays, Elm City made EZ Blues. Thank you, Abdul.
Yep.
Wondering what to write about, trying to figure out what it's all about. Existentialist, am I worth anything or just discount? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Spending time all alone, sending my songs through the phone, dreaming of a better home, we more focused on trying to hone this craft, witchcraft. I hope the brujas let the